Hi, my name is Dessa Clark. My husband is Matthew Clark, and we have two children, Zeppelin and a little girl named Erilyn. And we have been attending Faith for exactly a year. As a young adult, there was a moment when I was married, and then I wasn't, and so I was navigating life as a newly divorced single young woman, and that urgency to find God became very strong. I really wanted to know who He was because I was feeling lonely, but I didn't want to be alone. I still remember it. It was dark outside. It was the beginning of January 2011, and it was raining, and I ran out to my car and I just screamed. I was so mad that someone would say that to me when all I wanted were answers. I wanted God. And I was in my car, and it was almost barbaric. I was just screaming and saying, God, I've lost you. I don't know who you are. I don't know who I am, and I don't know what you want from me. I sat in that for a moment, and that moment turned into 7 years. I ended up meeting and marrying my husband 2 months later and being told I'd never have children. We have two. I mean, my life has just been this wonderful walk of just happy ever afters. God put my husband and I into another situation that was almost catastrophic for us. I had a lot of losses. During the years that we were married, and all I wanted was another baby. And that Thanksgiving, shortly after, I developed a lot of pain in my abdomen. As we get to the hospital, there were quite a few people there, but my blood pressure had dropped so low that they rushed me into a room and just immediately started doing everything that they needed to do to find out what was wrong. And they made me take a pregnancy test, and I swore that I was not pregnant as much as I wanted it to be. And it was there in the hospital bed that we learned that I was. I was clawing at my husband. I was screaming just for God to just save me from what was happening. We were terrified. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And my husband, who up until that point we hadn't been a very emotionally spiritual couple, just prayed. And he said, God, please keep her. And if I could go back to that moment and just be lifted out of that, I know that Jesus was there with us. He had his hands around Matt, had his hands around me. Just holding us. It's a miracle today that I'm alive after what had happened. And it was when I woke up the next day that I realized that my heart was in all the wrong places. And that's a lot of why I was struggling to find Him. I was lost in this happy life, but it wasn't that happy. I wanted so many things that I wasn't getting, and so I wasn't content. When I woke up the next day and we went home, I opened up my Bible to the book of Job and just was overcome with how beautiful of a story it was of just grief and sadness and loss, all these things that I had been experiencing, and then thinking of all the people that had tried to tell me that, I didn't have enough faith, or, I wasn't good enough, something was wrong with me, and God's word just came in and just took every little bit of pain that I was feeling and refocused me, brought me into a place where I could be sad, but I could come to know God better. I could come to know that He is faithful. He promises that He is near the brokenhearted, and I was as broken as you could get. But He was there, and it was beautiful, and it was nothing like I had ever experienced before. And as time went on, I had to know Him. I had to understand who He was. And after reading the book of Job, I went to the book of John, and I recognized who He was in the person of Jesus, and that He has been through the pain that I went through, and He conquered death, and He's amazing. I can't even think of a better word. He just He brings so much hope. I don't know if I could have gone through what I went through without Him there, giving me that hope and that faith to find out who He was, who He is, to know that He is living, that He is with us always, even in our beautiful moments and in the saddest times of our life. He is real, and I have just loved getting to know Him. I have loved that I can talk freely to Him. I can talk freely about Him, and my husband and I have this just beautiful relationship that we didn't realize needed anything. We thought we were doing just fine, and now that we have each other still, and we have Jesus, and we have our two beautiful children, we've just found God to be so sweet. There's a difference between knowing that God is sweet and actually tasting the sweetness of who God is. And we're finally in this space where we know that He is wonderful. We can feel that He is wonderful. He has completely just enveloped us into His family, and our lives will never be the same.